Hi guys, how are you? So we are going to be continuing our Zentangles, but we're taking it to another level by doing some crazy hair. So first, let me just show you what Zentangles look like, just give you a reminder. So these are Zentangles. Whoopsies. These are some Zentangles. I posted it so you can do, what I would like is for when you decide to do the Zentangles, you could either do one or two things. Choose something that is more complicated. I am not impressed if you're just doing lines. So that's not impressive. Challenge yourself. You're already in fourth grade, so you should definitely be challenging yourself. The second thing is if you have a Zentangle idea, which I did, and it was one that had sort of like some arches. So what I did is I made it my own. If you have a Zentangle that you see and feel inspired by, you could definitely make it your own by adding other elements to it. Remember that Zentangles are sort of usually incorporate geometric shapes, and they kind of repeat themselves and they are the same size. So what I told the students was that if, for example, you have a favorite character, whether it's from Mini Style, Fortnite, and it's just the face, you can repeat it and just shade it in like in a black and white type of thing, and then it could end up looking like your own Zentangle. So what you do first is that you must take a selfie. So let's go do that. Now it has to be face forward. So have your camera ready. And one moment. And give your biggest smile. Like, get into it. Smile, look directly at the camera, and do your selfie. Oopsies. Okay. Okay. The next thing you do is that you add your photograph to a Word document, or you can just print it directly. The important thing is that your face is not going to be a full page face. It's not going to take up the whole thing. So you need to make sure that you make it small enough that it is, I would say, the size of a dirham and a half would be a great size, because you're going to include your neck and your shoulders that you're going to draw, and you are going to make sure that you maximize the space with some crazy hair day. So this is what it looks like. So I cut out my face. If you have bangs, make sure that when you take your photograph, your hair is all back. And then you make all of this cool designs. It looks sort of like a word bubble, but taken to another level, some curves, little hooks. So I want you to do that. Now, if you notice, my hair is divided into 4 sections. You can easily do 5. Please make sure you are using a ruler to divide the sections. If you notice, I'm leaving a little tiny space on top and I'm leaving some space on the side. You can easily make this a little bit wider, but definitely leave this amount of space on the side. So if, in other words, if you want to make the hair a bit wider, that would be fine. And again, you could do 4 or 5 sections. You should definitely include one Zentangle 100% from the Zentangle sample sheet. And again, it's all about repeating the same design. So I'm going to go ahead and let you see what I'm working on. So as you can see over here, I did the arches. And then what I did is I added some shading over here and I added 3 leaves. And it is a matter of repetition. One of the things that is super helpful is if you are repeating the same thing over and over, meaning if you are drawing an eye and you're drawing just the top of the eye, you do the top of the eye, repeating that part over and over, then you do the bottom of the eye. And what that does is help you control, basically control, it's a mindset, sort of like getting yourself into like the same size. You don't want to make a small design and then a big design of the same thing, or even medium size. It should be as close as possible to the same size, because that's what will make it look more like a Zentangle. And you don't have to make them so far apart. And if you're going to be making it far apart, then you need to think of what design or what shading you will put inside so that it will look as close as possible to a Zentangle. Another tip, just before we get started, is that if you are using a pencil right away as opposed to a pen, you don't want to smudge. So when you're drawing, don't kind of rub that in, because then that will mess up all the hard work that you've done. So let's go ahead with this side. So I think I would like to do something that resembles the peas. I did that one before, but maybe I can make it a little slightly different by maybe adding some little curves on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it sort of like if I'm doing, again, I'll do 3 because that would be the perfect size. I'm doing this kind of sad here. I'll go ahead and do it like that. And I'm imagining that it will then be like this. So I want to make sure that I have enough space before I go ahead and do the other curve. Okay, So again, it's repeating that same space. Now, when we're doing a design, obviously over here, there will not be a complete one, but in your mind, it's sort of, you wanted to imagine it as a continuation of that. So you leave the same amount of space. You can use your fingers for direction, or you can easily use a ruler as guidance as far as how much space did you actually put in between the curves. So that is a continuation. Actually, if I'm going to be honest, this should continue a little bit more downwards, and I can easily erase that part in a bit. So the next step is going to do the opposite thing, which is smile, smile. And this sort of resembles like what I did before, except that it is larger. I'm going to go ahead and get an eraser because it's distracting to see that part. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to just erase that part because it was distracting. And another thing is that even though I'm coloring, actually not coloring, drawing a little bit on the harder side, that's so that it can show on the video. You should be drawing pretty lightly. So if in the event you make mistakes, they can easily be erased. So now I'm going to go ahead and sort of make this like an eyelid. It's a little bit on the thinner side. So I'm doing that on all three. See? Then I'm going to go ahead and repeat that over here. And like I said, it kind of forces you to do the same size by doing it the same step over and over. Now inside we have P's. So I'm going to do first a big P, repeat that on all three. Again, it's like if you're continuing a P over here, slightly smaller P, slightly smaller P, and again, one on the opposite side, slightly smaller. Okay, and then a much smaller P on both ends. And this one you can't see it, but just imagine it as we're continuing. Now, the spin would be that obviously these kind of P things are kind of bigger than what I normally would do. So I want to put a spin on this. So I have to make sure that whatever design I make on this is going to constantly repeat itself. So I'm going to go ahead and make it look like this. I'm going to put a dot in the middle on each. And then I'm going to make it have lines sort of look like a strange eye and sort of look sort of like if you were to have those candy cane mint flavors that are like twirly, that would look something like this as well. You can do whatever design you want. And actually you don't have to do that. So I'm doing that in the middle. The second one, I want to make like a little circles, and I'll do that for the two sides. So it looks sort of like it could be little beads. And over here on this side, I'm going to leave as is. So you can see how I repeated the same design over and over for those three. Now I have all of this section over here and it looks pretty empty. I don't like a lot of empty spaces. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to make a design on both of these ends. And I'm going to just make it pretty simple. I'll make it a triangle. And I have that space over here, a triangle and a triangle. So this is what I have so far. Okay. Now I need to think, what can I do? I will do that as well for the bottom. So it could look like it makes kind of flows like that and kind of make it the same exact triangle. And think and imagine what design would I want for that. So taking the idea of one of the Zentangle designs, you can make a spin, like I said, and make it your own. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it blank for now. And then I'll go back to it. On this side, I should think about a different design that I would like to do that would look pretty cool, but it also will create some level of contrast with what's going on over here. So not sure what I'm going to do that. I guess what I'll do is I'll just stick back to this. I'm going to go ahead and make a small triangle inside. So I'm making a smaller triangle, and a smaller triangle inside. And then inside, I'm going to make little lines going across, and that will create some shading. So just so you know what the other route that I'm planning to do, so I like this a lot, and what I'm planning to do is that these little spaces that are white, I'm going to shade them in. I wanted to have some contrast. If it looks too much like a black and white evenly spread out, it's going to kind of, even though it's an opposite design, it's going to look a little bit the same. I want to create this much darker, and maybe this could also go then this route as far as not so much darkness. So that's pretty much it for now. Make sure that you're taking your time, you're using your imagination, and that you're trying to say, when you do a design, you're trying to repeat it pretty much the same size and width. Anyway, have an awesome one. Bye.